If this is your first time listening, then welcome. And if you love conversations about creativity, home, and collecting original art, tap follow now so you can join us each week. Hello and welcome to the Curated Nest. I'm here today joined by Ashleigh Donald. Ashleigh is a co-founder of Halo Business Consulting, the award-winning hospitality marketing and customer service experience consultancy that helps hotel owners, operators, and teams bring their brand promise to life, strengthen loyalty, and drive sustained growth. She's also co-host of The Halo Effect, Hospitality Stories with Ashleigh and Michael Donald, a weekly podcast sharing real stories and practical insight from hospitality and travel leaders. With more than 2 decades in senior marketing and communications leadership, Ashleigh has supported international hotel and real estate businesses across strategy, digital marketing, launches, repositioning, and rebrands, working with brands including Shangri-La, the Luxury Collection, Hilton, Four Seasons, Montcalm Collection, Resident Hotels, Kew Green Hotels, and Hudson Yards. Ashleigh was recognised as a winner at the 2025 Great British Businesswoman Awards. She also contributes to the sector as an entrepreneur in residence with Sheffield Hallam University Business School and mentoring through the Girls Network. Welcome along, Ashleigh.
Hello, Heather. Thank you so much for having me. And my goodness, that felt like a bit of a laundry list of things. I was like, oh my God, is she speaking about me?
Well, you've done so much, haven't you? I think how long have we known each other? Maybe probably
Gosh,
3 or 4 years now, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I feel like you've definitely seen me through so many different stages of our business, and yeah, we've I think kind of run parallel in terms of kind of facing different challenges and exploring different opportunities with our business as part of the Entrepreneur Accelerator program with NatWest. So yeah, it's great to kind of hear that. And often you don't sort of take a moment to reflect on what you've done. You often look at, oh, what I haven't done and what's still on my list to do.
Yeah, totally. You're so busy, like you say, working through your jobs list and focusing on what's next, what's next. Actually, it's quite nice to just stop and take a look back sometimes. I find that when I'm doing a bit of an update of my artist bio, or I very rarely update it, but my artist CV if it's called for an opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's quite nice, isn't it, to look back and remember some of the things you've done, because it's easy to just move at such a pace and,
Definitely.
and forget all you've achieved.
Well, that's it. And I think with it being the beginning of a new year, you often take stock of, nice wins from last year, things that, maybe you can learn from to apply this year. And I definitely feel I've had that sort of opportunity to reflect a little bit. And just, I think coming into this year, thinking about, what is important, how best to sort of optimize the time that you have as an entrepreneur to sort of have that balance of ensuring that you're delivering on all of your client work, ensuring you've got that pipeline of new business and keeping in touch with your network, making time to do all of the sort of volunteering things, and then of course like to be a parent and a wife and a friend and a daughter, etc. So it's I think it is busy, and I think I've been trying to just look at how I spend my time, and just making sure that it is balanced, and that you've got that time to do the things that bring you joy as well as the things that drive your business forward as well.
Yeah, you've got to remember to have a life.
Yes, which I think sometimes as a business owner, whether you're in that kind of startup or scale up phase, there's bumps along the way, and sometimes it can be quite consuming, and you can work late into the night and you can burn out, and it's not just a cliche, but you do need to make sure you have that time to just top up the pot, as it were.
Yeah. So when you've not got your businesswoman head on, what is life like for you? You're a family woman, aren't you?
So yeah, so bit busy family time. So my husband Michael and I, we run our business together, which is great in many ways. I think kind of partners in business, partner in life. So there is those kind of blurred lines in terms of what we work on, but actually I think it kind of integrates just into our lives quite seamlessly, that we're sort of running the business and then obviously have our family. So three sort of fairly young children. So they have amazing social lives, which keep us kind of on our toes and busy. But we're really fortunate to live in by the coast in Whitley Bay. So a lot of our time usually has something to do with the seaside in some way. So whether that's kind of collecting sea glass and making sea glass artwork. So the kids all have got a lovely bit of artwork that they've created themselves from sea glass that we got in Seaham a few weeks ago, which was lovely. And I actually really like the winter, getting out at the beach. It's just not as busy, and you get that sort of lovely bracing, lovely northeast wind. But at least, you can kind of come in feeling really invigorated and, enjoy like a nice hot chocolate at one of the nice cafes along the coast. And then, we do lots of kind of water-based sports. So paddleboarding when I can. I do a weekly boot camp, so try to get there 3 days a week, which is all kind of by the sea. So our life is very much kind of by the sea, and the kids are all part of like the Sea Scouts. So they're off doing all sorts of like coast steering and kayaking, and I mean, amazing experiences for such young minds. I think it's fantastic that we've got the option to do that. And then when we're not kind of staying local, we love to travel. So both Michael and I have worked in kind of global hospitality and for some of the big global kind of hotel brands for most of our career, and that's enabled us to do a lot of traveling, a lot of working abroad as well. So I spent about 4 years working in Thailand for what was luxury collection property at the time in Phuket. So that was a lovely chapter of my life, and I'm still very in touch with all my Thai team that I worked with, and all of my expat friends who are still lucky enough to live there. And we actually took the kids back over the summer, which was amazing trip. So we were able to kind of engineer the way that our contracts fell with work to pretty much have 6 weeks off, as much as you have off when you're an entrepreneur. But we did down tools for some of our big clients and come back in September. And it was incredible. So we were away for 4 weeks, went to Phuket and stayed around the corner from where I used to live. And my old house is still there. And the local restaurants were still the same. And, all their kids have grown up a little bit. And they were, so happy that we'd come back, and we were introducing the kids to them. So that was fantastic. And then we went off to Bali and had about 2.5, 3 weeks there, which was incredible. And so, just the cultural side of Bali and the food and the people was incredible. And then came back via Bangkok, which, at first, I remember when I first went to Bangkok as a kind of 20-something backpacker, being a little bit overwhelmed by it, because it is like it's just a city on steroids. The smells, the sounds, just everything is just heightened. But actually I felt really like at home there, and because I can still speak a little bit of the language, it might be a little bit rusty, but I can chat to the taxi driver, I can negotiate at the market stall, I can kind of do enough to feel like I'm sort of having a nice conversation. And it was great, and the kids absolutely loved it. They loved the kind of chaos of Bangkok in the tuk-tuks, on the sky trains. They're chatting to monks in their orange robe on the sky trains and doing the why prayer pose to them. And it was just such an eye-opening experience. And they were really up for trying like the food. We did lots of kind of little street markets and street food. So that for me was a lovely opportunity to share some of my kind of life pre-children with them and give them that window, and also to share that, there's a big wide world out there, and just open their horizons in terms of different cultures and languages, and it was great. So I mean, the only challenge is now that set the bar for most summer holidays.
Yes.
So when I'm offering a camping trip to Northumberland this summer holidays, they're like, oh, is that all we're getting this time? So yeah. We're so lucky now in the Northeast, I think, as well. I mean, I left Newcastle when I was 18, to go off to uni, and then didn't come back until I was a parent myself. So I kind of missed a lot of my, I would say, like, adult life here until I moved back about 6 or 7 years ago. But it's been lovely to rediscover Newcastle and surrounding areas and the coast, and just how much that's changed, I think, in terms of independent restaurants and businesses and hotels, and the like design of like buildings and interiors. Whereas I think, it's fair to say maybe in the late 90s, everything kind of you often centered around some sort of branded restaurant chain, or a bit cookie cutter, a bit safe. And now we see like really cool hotels like Hotel Gotham and the Fire Station, and they've retained all of those incredible original features and like woven that into the whole design. And the uniforms are kind of like a sort of quite thematic of like fire like station chiefs and things. So that kind of thing I just love.
I first came to Newcastle maybe 22 years ago. I think, yeah, I've been with my now husband for 22 years, and it was a very different place. Like Whitley Bay was it was the center for like the stags and hen do's and
Bank
things.
holiday weekends.
Yeah, whereas now, it, like you say, it's all about celebrating the independent, about like the beauty of the local area. It's local people running those independent shops and restaurants, and like you say, hotels as well, and a lot of the building work, especially along the front. So the Spanish City, and you've got the new
Yeah,
hotels that have been done up. Some of those were empty for years and years, and
yeah.
they've done such a beautiful job with them, and it completely transforms the area. And I think the pride that people feel for the area as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the restoration of the Spanish city has been a huge catalyst, and and credit to the council and all of the work that they've done with the promenade and linking all of the beaches really easily now. I think that brings so much like sort of daytime tourism to the area. And obviously we're really lucky with the metro link that kind of links out into Newcastle, Sunderland, and beyond. And then I think that has instilled that confidence with, as you say, local businesses. And it's just a joy to see all these amazing entrepreneurs choosing Whitley Bay, when, yeah, I totally agree. My memory of Whitley Bay is, South Parade on a bank holiday weekend, and that kind of like drinking culture. And that's really transformed. And I think it is such a great example of that restoration of those kind of seaside towns that perhaps had their heyday in those like Victorian times. And you see those incredible old footage and photography of like the amazing beaches and people coming from all over the place, and then obviously with the advent of cheaper holidays to Europe, a lot of people have kind of left. But I do think there's more of a mindfulness, and potentially since COVID, of actually that staying local, you can gain so much from this area, and not just the coast, but we're bordering on Northumberland, North Yorkshire, the moors. I mean, it's such a lovely, I mean, gosh, I could like work for the edge, no problem for this region. It's just, I love it. So I love being a Geordie, love that I've been away and come back, and I think appreciate what is special about this place even more, having been away.
Yeah. So thinking about home then, what is it that you love about your home as a building? So obviously you've got all this love and this passion for your local area, but when you actually come into your house, what is your favorite thing about your home?
So I feel like I've had quite a transient lifestyle up until probably settled down to have kids, and even then we were still moving around to get to our base, which is now Whitley Bay, and it felt great to be able to put down roots and make a house into a home, because I think, I'd lived in so many different rentals and just kind of, it just never felt like home. You weren't allowed to put a picture on a wall, and it had to be a magnolia. Ugh.
Yeah.
So I think the things that we did were we went dark with a lot of the walls. So this is a Farrow and Ball. It's one of their blues. We did have stiff key, and then we went to slightly more greeny blue, and we kind of went dark with all of the walls, because I just felt that it was quite cozy, and then we were able to put like lots of artwork up and really make it pop. So you might see behind me a few recognizable landmarks. So just love the kind of bright northeast artwork, and we've got some amazing iconic landmarks here: Angel of the North, St Mary's Lighthouse, and Spanish City, which we mentioned. So kind of putting sort of lots of prints and pictures on the walls, and so my husband is from Dublin, so I was like, I can't just like throw the whole of the northeast on my walls. So I was like, here's a nice Dublin print for you, sweetie. So in our kitchen, which is like my favorite part of the home, because it's just where everything happens and all the socializing takes place. But we've got quite a big space for what artwork, and so one of the prints in there is a poster from the Paralympics. So when I first moved back to the UK from Thailand, it was 2012, which was the year of the Olympic Games in London. And when my sister was trying to help me apply for a job, because I just moved back. So we were looking for jobs, and in that research, she was like, oh my God, they're looking for volunteers for the opening ceremonies for the Olympics and the Paralympics. Shall I sign us up? I was like, yeah, why not? I'm not working. So off she went, signed us up. Well, she was offered, so we did a few auditions down in London, like very en masse, sort of like dancing to Beyonce and stuff. And then my sister was offered the role with the NHS, with the nurses with the beds. So she was beds in the opening ceremony, which was amazing. And then I was part of the opening ceremony for the Paralympics, dancing to Rihanna's Umbrella with this like amazing umbrella. Oh, so fun at the Olympic Stadium. So I've got a lovely poster that's like courage, sweat and love, Paralympics 2012, and that's huge kind of in the center of the kitchen. And actually I just feel like that's such a good like motto for every day. And actually to have been part of that Paralympics just showed the determination and the like inspiration of everyone that took part in Paralympics and the Olympics. And it was such a lovely time to be in the UK and in London. It was like that real pride. So I feel like there's definitely a big slant towards Northeast, but lots of different kind of like sort of memories, I suppose. Photos, lots of prints, and then kind of my favorite thing about my home, and I had much discussion as part of the Accelerator program coaching sessions that occupied when I was meant to be setting goals. I was bringing colour palettes to discuss, is that when we took our old kitchen and ripped it out, and it was really old and damp and like really dark space, and we put an extension on the back of the house, and it's a north facing garden, so it's light towards the back, but just that kind of bit immediately by the house is dark, and I felt that we weren't really using a lot of that space, and it would get a bit kind of like mossy and damp, and like you couldn't really use it. So we extended out, put lots of skylights in just to bring in the light. And then when we went to design the kitchen, it's such a big responsibility. I was like almost overwhelmed with choice, but I wasn't involved in any measurement discussion, insulation. But what I did have sway over was the colour of the island, which is a hellebore pink. So we went to amazing DIY kitchens, which we'd not come across before, but they were fantastic. And we kind of sent in the measurements, but then you had the option to customize. And I thought, I can't do the whole kitchen pink. I might not be allowed to do that. But I've got the island is this lovely, it's quite a sort of pastel, but quite a just a really interesting pink. a pastel, and then we've got sort of warm metallic like handles, and then the rest of the kitchens are grey, and then just loads of color on the wall with prints. Oh, and I love it. I really love it. So yeah, so I'm now wanting to add more little pink touches. So I have actually painted the back of the door. I've color matched the paint, so the back of the wooden door in the kitchen. And now I'm kind of, every time I'm in there, I'm like, what else can I paint? Maybe do a border here, maybe just like reel myself in. So yeah, so I think that was lovely to have been able to like design your own kitchen, although it felt a lot of responsibility, and oh god, what if I actually don't like it? But yeah, really lucky. So Mike's like loves cooking, and he was great in terms of the practical layouts and the way you would take something out of the oven and this, whereas I was like, oh, all about the color palette for me. So nice practical mix of like a functional kitchen with a bit of like style.
Yeah, well, it's good that you've both got a sort of different eye on it as well, that you both get to make choices and buy into it and sort of have ownership over it in different ways.
Yes, exactly. We feel like it's got a stamp on it from both our perspectives.
So is the kitchen your favorite room then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's just so sort of like multi-use. You know, it's where we start the day with cup of tea, breakfast. It's where we do all the socializing, and when if you've got friends over, everyone like just gravitates to the kitchen. And we usually just let the kids have the run of the house, but like the kitchen's kind of our space. And then we did realize when we had extended it, it became quite echoey. So we had to look at how we can kind of put a few more soft furnishings in. And we went on Marketplace actually and just got a few sort of sofas and like kind of just mismatched sort of chairs, just to sort of create a bit more of a softer environment, because everything was very much sort of like harder surfaces and a bit kind of cold in terms of like the sound. So I think that really helped. And then we put in some like bifolds, which was another lovely little treat. So when it is warm in Whitley Bay, which, you know, the few days of the year, we can have it totally open, which is lovely. So I try and like work from there if I can, especially in the summer, and I can just have the doors open and I feel like it's almost like a garden office. And then, so it's great. And we're really lucky to have, you know, a garden that the kids, it's again, multi-use from slides to football goals. We've got fruit trees. We've got little veg patches. So it's lovely. It's kind of, we've got like something for everyone in the family in the garden that we enjoy. And then but then the only challenge we have is, and this is like, oh, you know, not really a problem, but we didn't realize, it's just we live fairly close to the metro station, and with that you get quite a lot of pigeons. Well, as soon as you put up any sort of like structure, it's like the birds are like, oh great, there's somewhere. So that's been like a bit of a challenge. So we've like put or like a little kind of rotating, like, oh, it's like a metal thing, almost like, you know, the CDs that you used to put up on trees that sort of deflect them all. So it sort of tries to discourage it, but hey, that's, you know, the price you pay, I suppose. But no, it's lovely. And I think that kitchen and garden, like outdoors, indoors, and I've just put loads of plants in the kitchen as well, like floor plants and just plants on different levels. Oh my god! And I found these lovely vases which are like disco balls. So I've got like coming out of them. Just love it.
Oh, they sound incredible.
I love it.
Oh wow! So when you have the bifold doors wide open, do you get a waft of the sea air, or are you not quite close enough for
not
that?
quite close enough. I wish we did. I think that would be like the dream, is to have like this home, which we love and love the layout, and it just works for our family, but have a sea view. I think that would just be the dream. But you can, to be fair, you can hear sort of what's going on at the sea. And I mean, some days it's the foghorn, to be fair, when there's the sea mist. It does remind you that the sea is very close. And I mean, we do get like the seagulls and stuff, so you kind of the sounds of the sea in the associations of it. But yeah, it'd be lovely to actually like hear the waves and kind of just sort of see the sea. But yeah, we're not far, which is lovely, and it's all very walkable. And we're just so lucky with all the different beaches here. So you know everything from your kind of more family like Cullercoats Bay and paddleboards to surfer to like King Eddie's swimming and Riley's Fish Shack. So yeah, it's like and then obviously Whitley Bay as well. So I mean, just so many amazing beaches on the doorstep.
Do you have a favorite piece of art or a favorite accessory in your home that's got like a really special place in your heart? Is it the big poster that you were talking
It's
about in
probably
the
the big
kitchen?
poster, because I feel like that not only was there a lovely personal connection and I think like that positive like messaging of it, I feel like design wise it also like helped to set the like scheme for the rest. So we've got
Yeah.
a sort of poster wall and that's in the center, and then we've got lots of different prints, and we've tried to put them in really colorful frames as well. So our lovely guy Time Mouth Frames down in the metro station mark in Time Mouth metro station, the weekend market, like he's just so lovely, and so I always go to him to get prints framed. He does an amazing job, and they're so bespoke, and he always has like really cool colors and metallics. And so I try as often as I can just to pop down there to frame all of our stuff. So I feel like that helped to set the tone, and it's all a bit kind of mismatched in shapes and colors, but it kind of all comes together. And then there's some sort of, it's all very like bright pinks and golds and greens. So I feel like I've just kind of gone very over the top with the colors. But it's just a lovely bright space, and we kept the walls actually in that room white just because I think it is quite tall ceilings, and it is kind of at the what is the sort of darker half of the house, I suppose. Whereas in the more like south facing rooms where we get a lot of sunlight, we have gone a lot darker on the walls because it kind of feels that warmth. And even in the winter, if you've got the fire on, it just feels like cozier. Whereas it's funny, my mum's kind of like, why would you paint your walls so dark, and would you not go with a nice like pastel green or a like a just keep them nice cream color, like why go dark? It's making the room dark. I'm like, well, actually I feel like in many ways it sometimes makes the room feel bigger and more cozy. And I don't know, I've really, and maybe that's just because, as I say, I've never really had the opportunity to like go quite dramatic with the design because I've often lived in sort of rentals up until sort of recently. So but yeah, I think that having that one sort of signature print then has informed the rest of the design. Sometimes I find that you just have one and it can be really small, and then you're like, oh, right, I've got it now. I've got my whole like this is my mood board in my head.
Yeah, definitely. I think I a couple of times I've done pieces in the Curated Nest magazine, that's sort of the sister magazine to this podcast, and sort of started with a piece of my art and pulled together
Mm.
like paint palettes and things like that that would be really great as a scheme for a room. And I think if you do have those pieces, whether it's a piece of furniture, whether it's like it could be a blanket or
Yeah.
like say a piece of artwork, and you've already fallen in love with it, I think that's a great place to start to pick out colours and things. And, you know, not all your visitors are going to love your decor, but who cares, quite frankly, because
No.
it's a personal thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah,
And yeah, and it's lovely to hear your kind of creative process, because I think with your um artwork, it always just strikes me that it's so sort of vibrant, and like there's a like you can see the inspiration, but sometimes it must be, we can't always feel in that creative mindset. So it's, yeah, sometimes it can just be a small thing and then that develops an idea. And yeah, I think sometimes it can be overwhelming when you're sort of trying to create something from a blank sheet of canvas, literally from an
yeah,
art perspective, or if you're designing a home, or I see that with a lot of the hotels that we work with. The the hotels have really put the design at the heart of what they offer, because I think it's a way that they can really differentiate amongst a very crowded marketplace. But it's just not enough to have a pleasing design, a nice color palette in hotels. I think that the design has to tell like a really authentic story, whether that's that it's rooted in the location or the history of the building, or there's some sort of narrative that runs through the design, and then that's interpreted through the guest experience and the way that you kind of formulate your like programming. So like different events and experiences, like it has to all weave together. And I think it's really interesting how although I support from a sort of marketing and a PR perspective, actually that the brand and the storytelling and the partners and the artisans, suppliers that you work with, and really proving the sustainability credentials of each of the pieces and why they've been chosen, and how there's maybe a circular design principle. One of our wonderful clients work with some amazing social enterprise businesses, and some of the furniture in the guest rooms have been from like reclaimed wood, from like felled trees that they've kind of repurposed and recycled, and it's completely circular. And a lot of our hotel clients are choosing to work with B Corp suppliers, so that have really rigorous sustainability credentials that show that they're giving back positively to the planet and the community and their team. So it's really the landscape's changed massively, I would say, from a kind of more of a like commercial design perspective when you're looking at hotels and residences.
Yeah, it's not just a surface level, oh, that's a nice colour on the wall. Oh, that's a nice, picture that they've got 100 and they've got one in every single room. It's more of that, like you say, it's that whole story, isn't it? You want to walk into a place, and I guess it depends as well, like why you're going there. Are you going there because you want a home away from home, in which case it needs to be kind of cozy in the decor and the whole, the activities and everything connected to it. The food needs to reflect that. Or are you going somewhere because it's this really fancy special occasion, and it's like, so I guess all of like the brand informs that, the decor comes in, the menus, the everything. I'd imagine regardless of what kind of a hotel or B&B or whatever you're running, you want your guests to feel really comfortable and welcomed. How do you think that's like, it's a massive question, but is that achieved through things like making it feel homely or?
Yeah, I think, and again, you sort of touched on it earlier in terms of, I suppose why hotel and why people choose to go to their hotels. And I think, each guest archetype or guest sort of persona can be quite different. And, if I take we work with a lot of hotels in London, and London's such a global city with guests from all over the world. People travel there on business, people travel with families, people might mix it up and do a bit of work and tag on a holiday. And so it is really, I think, about trying to be quite specific about who your audience is and what their motivations are to stay, and then how you respond to that in terms of the design, the guest experience, there's kind of cues for the service. So, a business traveler, the design for them is often they just want everything quick and to be quite sort of smart in terms of like, quick check-in, possibly just on their phone, room key comes to their phone, in and out, minimal. They know their way around the city. They don't need to kind of get the jogging map or whatever, and then off they go. Whereas I think then you've got people who maybe have saved, and London's like a really big occasion. They're coming, they've got theatre planned, they've got shopping, they've got afternoon tea, they want to like immerse themselves, and it is like a home away from home. And I think it's really interesting looking at how hotels have really changed like their lobby space. So, gosh, in years gone by, the lobby was just a very functional, transactional place. You would walk up to the desk, you would hand over your credit card, sign a few papers, get your key, off you would go. You might have a chat to the concierge about a few local recommendations, and he might give you a very generic map, and on you went, and you went up to your quite standard room, etc. Whereas I think now it's very much like lobbies are almost like living rooms. There's lovely kind of the furnishings and the little nooks and crannies in different areas. There might be a library space for kind of quieter reading. If it's more of a wellness hotel, there's some like lovely touches, like a little meditation pod you can go into. And so I think it's looking at, you know, who your guests are ultimately, and the reasons for coming, and then how do you respond to that. And I think it is getting more and more competitive, as I mentioned before, to differentiate in terms of what you offer. And I think you have to be crystal clear with your message about who you are as a brand, how that is reflected in a very authentic way, and how do you tell that story. And that can be, you know, the story that is online on social, but also then that is connected with the service style and culture of the team that welcome the guest, and then that ongoing kind of relationship with the guest once they've left the hotel, and how do you keep in touch with that guest to ensure that they come back and kind of evoke those emotions. So you know, a lot of hotels have like a signature scent, or they've got a playlist that guests can, like, you know, kind of tap into when they're not there. They might have, you know, sort of poetry that is indicative to the hotel, that's then on a podcast that the guests can use on the go. So it's, I suppose, tapping into these like other cues when the guest isn't even at the hotel, so you're still kind of providing that experience to them, even when they're not staying at the hotel.
It's crazy, isn't it, how many different sort of facets there are to any business, really. Like when you imagine from outside of the hotel business, you imagine, they think about their food and their rooms and their whatever. You don't think about like all those other nuances around them, which I guess is your secret power, your superpower. And that's what you and Michael bring to these incredible places. All these little things that you would never think of. There's certainly in my business, there's a lot of jobs, and sometimes I just sit there and think, like, if I had written down a list of stuff I thought I would do as an artist, like a massive percentage of what I do on a daily basis would never even have occurred to me. But
Yeah,
it's all part of what impacts the customer experience, isn't it? It's
yeah,
all part of making it really special. It's not just, like you say, it's not just like a transactional thing like it used to be, where, you know, you say you turn up at the lobby, you hand over your credit card. People want more from businesses, don't they? Whether they're
yeah,
hotels or shops or cafes or, you know,
definitely.
craftspeople.
I think they want to know the story behind the brand, whether that's the founder, whether it's how it began, if it's a family business, what's the legacy of, you know, who started it. And that's the things that people buy into, isn't it? And that make a difference. So I think, you're absolutely right. Whether it's a hotel or a local cafe or, you know, like a studio, it's what's the story behind why they've created this, and you know what, and also who do they associate themselves with as well. I think that's been a big shift, that it's not just about what that business does themselves, but it's about their full kind of like supply chain, and all the partners that they choose to work with reflect the ethos of the business as well. So they also, you know, a lot of the work we would do is kind of understanding the credentials, particularly around sustainability, community, to ensure that those partners are aligned with you know, brands that we are putting forward. So it's often being able to showcase that you're a good business in that kind of circular sense of giving back, whether it's to the planet or community, and your team members.
Where is your happy place? Is it in one of these fancy hotels? Is it by the sea in Whitley Bay? Is it like a mixture of things?
Um, so really, I was trying to kind of think where. It's really hard to pick one place. I think, I mean, I do love Whitley Bay, and I feel like, gosh, I get like my clients are like, when are you applying for the mayor of Whitley Bay? You know, it's like, oh my God, like we've heard how much you love Whitley Bay. I mean, definitely Whitley Bay, but I think for me, I talked a bit about Thailand. For me, Thailand just embodies what I love about just the culture and the just the landscape and the just everything about Thailand, just the friendliness of the people, the fun nature, the beauty, that tropical kind of landscape. I just love it. And I think having been away for quite some time, and then going back in the summer, I just immediately felt like, I've like returned back to the mothership. It was just lovely. And, and I appreciate I can't be there all the time. And it's not, I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity to work there when I did. And I don't think it would fit in with, the sort of chapter of my life, but so grateful to have been able to go back with the kids and just share with them the beauty of the place and the food and the people, and I really did feel at home immediately, after not being there probably for a good 15 years or so it was really nice to revisit that. So I think Thailand would be right up there.
Yeah. Do you think it re-energized you when you landed?
Yeah, it really did. And because I was definitely mixed with a bit of like, not guilt, but sort of like, oh God, am I like being a bit ridiculous taking like all this time off from like work and going off on this massive long haul holiday, and like, oh God, like what if the kids hate it, and oh, what if someone gets ill, and you can have all of these what ifs. And then I was like, oh God, like just go for it again. What's the worst that can happen? We'll deal with it. It's fine. And then when we got there, and again, like I guess like hospitality is just such part of like our lives. Even when we're not at work, we were still, every interaction that we had, and we stayed in a real kind of broad spectrum of different places. So we had like a lovely villa when we were in Phuket, because we had friends that were there, so it meant we could all just kind of hang out, and the kids had somewhere to sort of play, like swimming and stuff, and we could just like catch up with friends. But then when we were in Bali, we stayed in homestays, so staying with like Balinese family and quite sort of rustic digs, and they would like make you like the banana pancakes in the morning and like give you like the strongest Balinese coffee. It was great. And I mean, it was really like didn't cost a lot of money, and we were able to then, because we were away for a while, we did need to budget, so we ate really local, and I felt like really sort of immersed ourselves in the experience. But then like when we got to Bangkok, it was more stayed in a hotel, just because of where we needed to be, like location wise, to be able to get out and about in the city. So I would say we experienced lots of different levels of service. So again, you do get energized, and you get ideas, and you get just that inspiration again, that you can then apply it when you get home. So I do feel like since I got back and sort of picked back up again in September, I definitely felt energized with new ideas and challenging the status quo as well. I mean, Thailand is still sort of officially sort of developing as a country, but actually, when you look at the level of service, and I appreciate the ratios of team members to guests is a lot higher than in the UK, and sort of costs of staffing, etc., the very different ratios. But the experience in terms of that, dedicated service, the design and architecture of the hotels and the buildings, it's just incredible. And I think, it was a really great way to sort of see that Asian style of hospitality, which when I worked with the Shangri-La Hotel at the Shard, we did the opening, and that was only the third hotel that the Shangri-La brand had in Europe. It was very kind of centered in Asia. So there was a lot of like, what does that Asian style of hospitality mean, and how is that interpreted into a London market in like South London, which is like, that was the first 5-star hotel south of the river. So there was all of these different like nuances of like, how do we tell this story? And And I think because that Asian hospitality was still very much rooted in my experience of working and living there, I feel like that helped me to interpret, okay, how do we kind of launch this brand in London in a really authentic way? So I think, just bubbling with ideas. And even though we were technically not working, we were still working, because it was like the cogs were turning, and we came back with loads of ideas. And some of them you kind of like, oh God, like now you're back in reality, like, oh yeah, that's not going to work. And then some of them like, oh, okay, maybe we could like revisit that. So I just loved it. And I think that's what I love about travel, is you get just immersed in all of these different experiences that you can then potentially use in opportunities to work with hotel clients in the future.
Yeah, it's definitely proof that rest is productive.
Yes.
Because when you do like give yourself, and I am awful at this, I understand the theory, but when you do give yourself that time to fully switch off, I definitely know that that is when ideas start to ping, and like little things, like little ideas just float and hover around my mind, and sometimes they grow, and sometimes I'm like, actually, no, that's daft. Sometimes the daft ones are the best ideas because they ping off into something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, even like when you run your own business, you don't ever really totally switch off, because you're not like, it's not like you're handing the key over to someone else who's going to continue doing all of the work. But yeah, and there is sometimes that guilt of, oh, if I stop, then who's going to be doing this, that, and the other. But sometimes the universe just sort of proves you wrong. And like, so I was lying there on the sofa on New Year's Day and got a ping on my phone saying, oh, orders come through. And I hadn't worked for about 2 weeks. And there was still, orders coming through for things. So, I think you almost have to sort of, if you like me at least, force yourself to stop. And actually then, you re-energize, you spend time in that happy place, whether it's like 5 minutes or 5 weeks,
Yeah.
and you do feel the benefits of that rest and recuperation, don't you? And it has a positive impact on everything.
Yeah, and you're right. I think it is hard sometimes to like set aside that time. I was having a conversation with she's a former client, and we collaborate all the time, and like such a great friend. And I was telling her about my like best laid plans about being productive and trying to protect my time and making sure that I worked in like really sort of like mini, like high intensity productivity little segments of the day. And she was kind of like listening to me and smiling and nodding, and then she's like, and in this grand plan of yours, when have you allowed yourself time to think? And I'm kind of like, well, surely that's a luxury. And she's like, is it? Is it? I was like, oh God, actually, yeah, you're completely right. I'm like, so like, trying to be ultra efficient with like outputs, and I do enjoy working in high pressure environments and tight deadlines, and it keeps me focused and motivated. But yeah, like that time to think and actually deliver like valuable ideas for your clients or for your business or for yourself, or just to recuperate and just keep yourself energized. And I think that is often the challenge, isn't it, when you work for yourself, as you say, you have that finite amount of time and trying to just make the most of it. But also sometimes there's just times where you don't get through that to-do list, but that's okay, because maybe it wasn't really that realistic anyway. And actually, what's been the result of that? Well, actually, you still promised and delivered everything that you said you would, but you maybe have just not got as far ahead as you might have liked, or whatever. But it's fine. You can pick it up, you reframe it, you go again. And there's things that sometimes I think, oh gosh, I must like come back to that at some stage, but then actually something else changes and maybe that's not as relevant anymore. So actually you just have to evolve. But well, on that note, I've booked to go to a sound bath tonight.
Oh.
all in the name of fundraising for the school. But some school parents have a Pilates and like sound bath studio in Cullercoat. So that's going to be my first experience of that. And I thought, yeah, I will just take an hour to myself later today and go to that, because I'm like, oh God, I've still got like do this, this, and this. I was like, no, I'm gone an hour. It's fine. So yeah, I think just allowing yourself that guilt-free time to take a break and do something that's a bit different, or just go for a walk or catch up with friends. Like, it's really important to remember to do that.
Okay, so the final question before we go into the quick fire questions is, what would your dream home be like? I know you said earlier that if you could pick up your home and move it a little bit closer to the beach, then it would, sort of be the cherry on the top. Would that be your dream home, or would there be any other elements that
Um,
you'd feed into it?
I think, yeah, I mean, I really just love our our home. I mean, of course, you see these incredible like villas with, they're like infinity pools. I mean, of course, wouldn't turn that down. But I think just, yeah, just to have like that mix of like really cozy spaces, with like a fire, but then like very flexible spaces. So when we did our kind of work on the house, we were really tempted to put everything open plan, and actually we ended up putting in what do you call the door, pocket doors, so they sort of slide
Yeah.
into the wall, so we can have a totally open kind of front room, dining room, kitchen, diner area all in one, which is great, like at Christmas when we had like 16 family over, or when we've got kind of stuff happening, or kids have got friends over, or it's like in the winter and we just want to kind of like cozy up to watch something, we can shut all of the doors. So for me, it's like that, like flexible spaces that can be repurposed and that grow with you as well, because I feel like
Yeah.
we use the house really differently to when like the kids were really little, and now actually having like spaces that you can section off and like separate children when they're having arguments, brilliant. So yeah, really flexible design, outdoor space, sea view, garden, and like fruit trees and things like that. And I think if I lived in a hot climate, I mean, yeah, pool would be amazing. But yeah, I love like my home. But I think, yeah, just would, if I could get a sea view in there, I'd be really happy.
Yeah. It's not a lot to ask, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. I mean, that can only improve any situation, having a sea view,
Well,
in
exactly.
my
At least
opinion.
kind of not far to get there. So no, just
Yeah.
yeah, love it. But yeah, a few warmer days to sit in the garden wouldn't go amiss in the summer. I look forward to them.
Yes. They'll come eventually. Okay, right. It is now time for our quick fire
Mm.
questions. So you get a choice of two things. Just go with your instincts and say which one you prefer. Okay. The first one is classic or modern?
Um, Probably classic.
Maximalist or minimalist?
Definitely maximalist.
Country or city?
City.
Swimming pool or games room?
Swimming pool.
Chef or cleaner?
Oh, cleaner.
And the final one is a new one for this series. Following trends or following instincts?
um, Instincts.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good
Yeah.
one.
I think trends are there, and I've probably said this on other episodes as well. I think trends are there for people who um need a bit of guidance and can't necessarily visualize something and whatever.
Oh, it's yeah, I think for that inspiration. And I mean, I
Mm.
love, so this time of year, like December into January, there's so many like trends articles, whether it's like travel trends or like
Yeah.
hotel trends. And honestly, I like genuinely like look forward to, there's a few writers that I follow, like, oh my God, when they're going to write their Forbes like 3 piece article like trends. And I love it. But I think yeah, for inspiration, but I do feel instinct, and even more so since running our own business, there's definitely decisions that we've made that I think, had we been a bit more trusting our gut, we would have had a different outcome. And so we've kind of learned from mistakes with not trusting our gut. So I'm much more instinct led, I think, now, and I do like trust my instincts a lot more.
Thank you so much for coming
Oh,
on.
thank
If
you.
anybody wants to come and have a little nosy, find out more about Halo, about you and Michael, where can they come and find you?
So we have a website which is GoHalo, GOHALO.co.uk. We also have our weekly podcast, The Halo Effect, which is on Spotify and the usual channels. So yeah, please do come and say hello. We love a chat. And yeah, very grateful, Heather, to have you on here, and also very grateful for all of the support and inspiration over the past 4 years of us kind of running our businesses and sort of turning to each other for advice throughout that time. So yeah, lovely to have the opportunity to join you today, and yeah, look forward to seeing you soon.
You are more than welcome, and I have long had you as my PR guru. Those conversations that we had when we were in the accelerator still very much in my mind when I sit down to do my press releases and things
Oh,
like that and
cool.
gather all of my ideas together. So, yes,
Oh,
thank you.
fantastic.
If you'd like more inspiration between episodes, you can download my free lifestyle magazine, The Curated Nest, from the link in the show notes.